Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now Bitcoin is coming into contact with this very important line of resistance, which is also forming a brand new price pattern. Also, Bitcoin has some on-chain metrics showing us that a massive move is building up. So I'll be covering all of that and more in this video, so definitely stick around to the end so that you don't miss out on any of this important information. And just before we jump into it, you might as well leave a like down below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on for more updates just like this every single day. But with all of that out of the way, let's get straight into what this video is about. It's right here on the Bitcoin US dollar chart on the 4-hour time frame. And so far this year in 2022, the Bitcoin price has constantly been finding resistance along this exact descending line of resistance. And right now, this line is coming in at approximately 43.2k. So basically, if we see the price of Bitcoin start breaking above that level, obviously that would be a bullish sign, but we would also need to see some confirmation, such as a spike or surge in volume as we're breaking through the resistance, or if we see a retest flipping that resistance into new support, that can act as confirmation as well. And Bitcoin will soon need to make a decision whether we're breaking this point of resistance or this point of support, because as you can see, we've also been seeing some higher lows recently, and this point of support is coming in at approximately 42,000. So if we see a strong break below 42,000, then we could be in for another leg to the downside, which in that case, I'll be talking about some other important levels of support in just a moment. But if Bitcoin decides to break this exact point of resistance, and more importantly, if we start forming some higher highs here on the chart, then in that case, it would be obvious that the Bitcoin market is choosing to enter into a new uptrend, at least just on this 4-hour time frame, seeing higher lows and higher highs. And in the intro of this video, I'd mentioned that this is potentially a brand new Bitcoin pattern. And so what we have here is a potential bump and run reversal pattern that is simply a 3-stage reversal pattern. We've got the lead-in phase, the bump phase, and the run back to the upside if we can see a confirmed break above this point of resistance. And the technical price target to the upside, if we can break above this resistance, is coming in towards the beginning of the lead-in phase, which is at around 48,000 US dollars. So those are some of the important support and resistance levels that I am paying attention to here on the 4-hour time frame. And if we do end up breaking below this previous low just here, which once again that was coming in at around 42,000, then in that case we've still got major support at this golden pocket here on the logarithmic chart, which is starting at just above 40,000 US dollars, and it goes all the way down towards around 39,500. And by the way, this is on the daily time frame for Bitcoin, and for anyone new to the channel, your Fibonacci levels might look a little bit different from this because the default Fibonacci settings for this indicator is to have it on the linear settings, but this here is on the logarithmic settings. And not only is the $39,500 to $40,000 level of support important for Bitcoin because of this Fibonacci level, it is also important because of the September low. That was where we bottomed out back in September. So really, for as long as Bitcoin is holding above around 39,500, we're still looking okay here on the daily chart. And just before we jump into these important on-chain charts for Bitcoin, I'll quickly mention another reason why the $39,500 level is very important for Bitcoin, and that is because of this huge fractal right here on the daily time frame for Bitcoin that is still technically playing out. First of all, if you're looking at this previous price action that we saw in the first half of 2021, that price action resembled a head and shoulders pattern, but of course we did not see that pattern complete because we never broke below the neckline just here. On top of that, as Bitcoin was forming the right shoulder, we were seeing a small bullish divergence here on the daily time frame while we were still making lower highs here on the daily RSI, and we have seen almost an exact repeat of that over the past 1 to 2 months. So for as long as the Bitcoin price is still remaining above around 39,500, which is this neckline right here, then we are still looking good, and we can still potentially play out this massive fractal here on the chart. And a strong confirmation signal for a new uptrend starting that we can stay on the lookout for is if the daily RSI for Bitcoin starts breaking above this downwards trending line of resistance, which is right now coming in at around 43. And if you're looking at the last time we broke above this, which was back in July 2021, that was an amazing signal that we were finally flipping bullish and entering into the recovery back to the upside. And something else that can help the price of Bitcoin remain above 39,500 is this bullish divergence here on the 12-hour time frame. And for any of the beginners out there, a bullish divergence is just lower lows in the price action and higher lows in the RSI, and it means that we are due to see reduced selling pressure for the Bitcoin price, which can either come in the form of sideways price action or a slight move back to the upside, which, as I just said, can help the price of Bitcoin remain above that $39,500 level, which is very important for us to remain above. Now getting into some Bitcoin on-chain analysis, and this here is the Bitcoin miners position index, and this index is represented by the purple line just here, and the black line is the Bitcoin price on the daily time frame, dating all the way back to the beginning of 2019 up to the current day price action. And what the Bitcoin miners position index actually is, it's the ratio between the total miner outflow to its 1-year moving average. And the total miner outflow basically tells us how much Bitcoin is flowing out of miners' wallets. And so that means that just by looking at this Bitcoin miners position index chart, we can have a good understanding of whether or not the Bitcoin miners are selling a lot of Bitcoin or actually accumulating Bitcoin. And so basically, if we see positive values like 1, 2, or 3 as an example, in this purple line just here, the Bitcoin miners position index, that means a lot of Bitcoin miners are moving Bitcoin out of their wallets, which in most cases means that the miners are selling Bitcoin. But if we start dropping into the negative territories, then that means that the majority of Bitcoin miners, all of the people mining Bitcoin, are actually accumulating more Bitcoin. They are not really selling that Bitcoin. And what's very interesting is that this Bitcoin miners position index has basically remained in the negative territory ever since around March 2021. So for almost 1 year, a lot of Bitcoin miners have been accumulating a lot of Bitcoin. And really the biggest reasons why you would mine a lot of Bitcoin and continue to hold Bitcoin is if you were predicting the Bitcoin price continuing to go to the upside in the longer term. This is another way to visualize that chart. This is the Bitcoin miner reserve, which as the name suggests, this tells us how much Bitcoin the miners are hodling. And ever since early 2021, so for just about 1 full year now, the Bitcoin miners have been continuing to accumulate more and more Bitcoin, especially recently. We've seen another significant increase in the Bitcoin miners reserves within the last couple weeks or so. So this means that a lot of the new supply of Bitcoin, a lot of the Bitcoin that is getting mined is obviously not getting let out into circulation and is instead getting held back into the Bitcoin miners' wallets. And that means two things for Bitcoin. First of all, that means that there's less and less Bitcoin going around in circulation, meaning that it's going to become harder and harder to accumulate Bitcoin, especially as this goes on. And what this also means is that there's a reduced selling pressure because normally Bitcoin miners sell that Bitcoin, which obviously adds a selling pressure on the Bitcoin price. But because we're seeing the Bitcoin miners continue to accumulate Bitcoin and not sell that Bitcoin, of course, that is bullish for the Bitcoin price. And just zooming in a little bit, this shows us all of the price action over the past 1 year approximately. And the last time we saw a significant increase just like this in the Bitcoin miners reserve was actually back in around July 2021. And just around the corner was a massive move to the upside in the following month. On top of that, looking at the Bitcoin reserves across all exchanges, right now we are in the middle of seeing the circulating supply of Bitcoin run out. Seriously, we are seeing billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin leave exchanges every few weeks or so, especially as more and more big players are getting involved, like Michael Saylor or Bill Miller, for example. So to summarize all of that, right now we are seeing the Bitcoin market in an accumulation phase. We are seeing big players getting involved that are buying up more and more Bitcoin. We are seeing the Bitcoin miners continue to hold onto that Bitcoin, and we are seeing billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin leave exchanges and go into cold storage. So this is all pointing towards a massive run to the upside in the Bitcoin price. Now, it's important to mention that this does not mean a massive run to the upside tomorrow, because clearly this is looking at years worth of price action. This is looking at the much bigger picture. And so what I mean by a massive run to the upside is like what we saw in the beginning of 2019, which was essentially a bullish trend that lasted from around March up until June. Or in another example, what we saw in the end of 2020 leading into the beginning of 2021, which was a bullish run to the upside starting from around October 2020 and lasted all the way up until around February and March, which is where we finally started flattening out. Or in another example, something like what we saw in between July and November last year. So basically, within the next few months or so, it is very likely that Bitcoin would begin a multi-month uptrend. And so because of all of this information in front of us, right now I am personally dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin and holding for at least the next few months. It's important to mention that that is not financial advice. I'm just telling you my personal Bitcoin strategy and what these on-chain charts mean for Bitcoin. If you want to get extra Bitcoin updates just like this and extra updates on the crypto markets in general, definitely make sure you follow me over on my Twitter, and the link to my Twitter is in the description down below and also in the pinned comment. If you made it this far in the video, you might as well leave a like down below, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on so that you do not miss out on any of these updates that I post every single day. And before you click off, you might as well check out one of these uploads if you haven't already, because these videos can potentially help you make even more money in the crypto markets. But anyway, that is it for this update. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.